Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Mayafe Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Mayafe Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Page 131.
Shiru Adonai Kol Haaretz. Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash. Shiru Adonai Kol Haaretz. Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai Kol Haaretz. Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash. Shiru Adonai Kol Haaretz. Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We also, of course, want to say a special thanks to our members for joining us this Shabbat, and we welcome any guests joining us as well. But we could not be here without you, so thank you. I am Rabbi Rachel, here with Dr. Artie Gummer on the guitar. Friends who are joining on Facebook, the prayer sheet is being pinned into the Facebook feed. Just follow one prayer after the other. Everybody else in the sanctuary, we are out of Mishkan Tefillah. Don't get confused with the Torah, which is also under your seat, but you won't need it tonight. Per CDC guidelines, we are unmasked if you are, or rather masks are optional if you are fully vaccinated, but if you are not, we ask that you wear a mask. Should you need to head out of the room, we have an exit right here, an exit right here, and an exit right over there. For those of you who haven't been in person in a while, take a moment, silence your cell phones, your smart watches, so that we can be present in the space. And those joining online, put the phone to the side and be present with us. Those online, start saying Shabbat Shalom to one another. Folks in the sanctuary, turn to each other and wish one another a little Shabbat Shalom, then we'll come back together.
Sing.
Mm-hmm.
unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
Friends, let's take a moment to totally enter this space and leave behind what was likely a busy week. So I invite you to feel your feet on the floor or your back in a chair. Bonus points if you can reach both. If not, we understand. We are the Jewish people after all. So take a moment, feel comfortable, and I'll invite you to close your eyes. And we do this because we've been running and running and running all week. And God has given us these 25 hours to simply be and to soak in whatever we need to for Shabbat, even if it is just these next 60 minutes. And so let's enter that 1 hour together. Deep breath in. Let it out. Another deep breath. We let it out. This final breath, we enter Shabbat. Deep breath in, and we let it out. Go ahead and flutter your eyes open. And as it is 4th of July weekend, in case you didn't see the Kesher Quick, I wanted to kick us off with a little prayer for the 4th of July. It goes a little something like this. Holy One of bright colors, the red, the white, and the blue, may we be showered not only in light this 4th of July, but also with enlightenment. May that enlightenment come in the form of seeking a collective betterment of our American society. On this holiday weekend, though it is not a holy day, we celebrate the camaraderie of the delegates to the 13 original colonies. We pray that in modern times, the power of these delegates to come together be reflected back to us. Divine Creator, you taught us the holiness of words when you breathed the breath of life into the world. Today, we long for words to be used for agreement, for the betterment of this world, for a common goal that benefits not only those with strength in step, but that serves the weak as well. God of song and praise, we recall the writing of those longing words for America, which I think we'll sing a little later, to all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. So friends, if you have not yet had a chance to light Shabbat candles at home, I'll invite you to do so. Here in the congregation, I'll ask that you please rise, and you'll turn to page 120 for our candle blessing. We'll do it at Shalom Aleichem. So we'll bring in some love, light, and warmth. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kinishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehad likner shel Shabbat. Now, if you would like to light your own Shabbat candles this evening to my right and to my left as we pray words of Shalom Aleichem, page 142. Please be seated.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom לשלום מלאכי עליון ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ברכוני לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא צאתכם לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 138, Lecha Dodi, our chance to welcome the Sabbath bride, this emanation of the divine, that we say, come on in, be with us for Shabbat. Page 138.
לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני שני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולקטילה לה לה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לה לה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום
We face the door to welcome the Sabbath bride.
גם בשמחה ובשכלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה.
That melody from Kabbalat Shabbat leads us into our Ma'ariv service, which means that we are warmed up and formally ready to pray. Baruch Hu, page 146.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach.
welcome in the evening these words of Ma'ariv Aravim using the melody of Roll into Dark. It is not found in your prayer book.
Roll into dawn, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night.
That's all the
Roll
English.
into dawn. Roll into dawn, roll into light, roll into light, night becomes day, night becomes day, day turns to night,
Day turns to night.
Borei Yom v'Layla, Golel or mipnei choshev, Golel or mipnei choshev, v'choshev mipnei or. Roll into dawn, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dawn, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night.
We feel our feet on the floor, perhaps fluttering, our eyes closed. Where our words can be found on page 152, we declare God's oneness with Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. Page 154. We have our prayer, Ve'ahavta, asking us to love God with all our heart, all our soul, all of our might. And it's about putting something into it. That is the point, that when we put something into it, when we put something into our Judaism, we're usually going to lead with not just our mind, not just our soul, but also our heart. And so not only does it tell us to love God, but it tells us that we do that through mitzvot. Now, as Reformed Jews, like mitzvot have a little bit different meaning than in other movements, but nonetheless, it's about being a good person. It's about representing Judaism in a positive manner. It's about being your best self and discovering how Judaism can help you get there. Ve'ahavta, page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. On page 158, we have Micha Mocha. And I've said part of this story before, where if you look at our translation, who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness? And the story that I tell is that when Zohar and I will play sometimes, we have these silk cloths that are different colors, one of them rainbow, some blues and greens, and she loves them. And what we'll do together is I'll make them, fly in the air, and we'll tuck each other in together, and I whisper to her, are you majestic in holiness? And it's become this sacred space under that little cover. And she gets it. She knows that there's something special going on. And for those who have heard that story before, different spin, which is that tonight I'm feeling that as the reminder to read the English sometimes when we're praying, as a reminder of what the prayers are about. Because it wasn't until one Shabbat I was at home and Rabbi Max was leading, and I was looking at the translation. I saw majestic in holiness, and I was like, oh, that's where I got it. Like, I couldn't remember where that phrase had come to me in that moment, and it was from right here. And so maybe for you too, there is a little phrase that you will pick up tonight that you'll carry with you, and you'll have that little spark of Judaism in a moment that you didn't expect. Micha Mocha, page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושי פלא, נורא תהילות עושי פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע יום לפני משה. זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני אלוהים לעולם ועד, אדוני אלוהים לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושי פלא, נורא תהילות עושי פלא, נורא תהילות עושי פלא.
Turn to page 160 for Hashkivenu, that prayer about putting that Sukkot Shalom, that covering of peace, if you will. So whether it is that little silk cloth that you take out with a child, or the roof over your head in your home, or the roof of a sanctuary, of any place that you find holy, we ask that God cover it with a shelter of peace. Hashkivenu 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. 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 Ushmor tzetzeinu Chaim u'shalom me'ata v'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu.
So we move from that calming melody of Hashkivenu into a verbose Vishamru. And in some ways, we might think it should be the opposite, that Shabbat should be the quiet one and that we should call out for that shelter of peace. But tonight, we flipped it. And the Hashkivenu, we turn in a little bit. In the Vishamru, we turn out a lot of it. And we remember that it is a time to spend with others, a time to spend with God. And it is that special, special day that God gave to us. And so we're joyous in it. And that's what it's all about. Vishamru, page 162.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat L'dorotam b'rit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat L'dorotam b'rit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat L'dorotam b'rit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et HaShamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat L'dorotam b'rit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat L'dorotam b'rit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat L'dorotam b'rit olam. All right, friends. It is Parshat Pinchas. So once again, this means, like always, that my email inbox, was flooded with sermons and Torah studies about the amazing achievements of the Lofechad's daughters, for going to Moses and requesting the ability to inherit their father's land since there was no sons. And Moses ends up saying, yes, women have inherited land in the Torah, woohoo!
Woo! That's the theme. Every single year, I read article after article on this victory. So maybe I need to subscribe to some other blogs. If anyone can find a sermon or teaching with the argument I'm about to make, please do share it with me. Because, although first let me go ahead and let me summarize some of the details of the story of Zelophehad's daughters and what they achieved. So first, the daughters are named, which is not a particularly common occurrence in the Torah for women. Oftentimes the women go unnamed. And so their names were Machla, Noah, Hogla, Milka, and Tirzah. So that's number one. Number two, going against cultural norms, the daughters muster up this courage to stand before Moses and make a request. Their father has died, leaving only daughters, and so they request to inherit their father's land. That's number two. Number three is the result of their request. God tells Moses that the plea from the women is not only justified, but moving forward, this new inheritance law should always be the case. That's basically the story. And so, perhaps controversial, it irks me sometimes these days, I'll connect it here, when activists have a glimmer of accomplishment on an issue, and instead of sitting in praise of that accomplishment for a few moments, I feel like instead people just scream, it wasn't everything, this wasn't good enough. And true, probably wasn't good enough, whatever that issue was that you were fighting for. But let's take a breath, maybe even two, to recognize the achievement and then put our heads down to keep working toward our goals. So let's call those 3 points I mentioned a moment ago. That was our thanks. That was our moment of gratitude for rare feminism in the Torah. But when we zoom out from this Torah portion, we have to recognize that Torah is not studied in a vacuum, and therefore that story of this week, it doesn't end there. And because it doesn't end there, the feminist victory is actually short-lived. Everybody wants to forget this part. But in next week's Torah portion, all of the women's work unravels and inheritance laws return to the status quo when it is announced that these women can only marry within the clan of their father's tribe, so that their inheritance stays in the tribe and cannot be moved to another, which is what would happen if they married outside of the tribe. And this is problematic because if a son had inherited the land, the issue wouldn't even be on the table. This means that the inheritance of a daughter does not even last a generation, because when any of the daughters marry, her husband is then the recognized owner of the land, and that's that. So, as is tradition, we use this story as a lens for looking at our world today. And so here, we should pause and mention some of the amazing progress that has been made for women's rights in America. You've got voting rights, more women receiving higher levels of education, Roe v. Wade, a large increase in women working, and the list can go on and on and on. But change is slow. For years, we would talk about how women made, I don't know if it was 72 or 76 cents to the dollar of a man. And in 2020, I didn't know this until I was researching, that number is actually up to 86 cents to the dollar. And like the time that we set aside to have a bit of joy for Zelophehad's daughters, we could sit in a little bit of joy for that. It is progress, after all. And then we put our heads down to continue to raise awareness of and fight for equal pay for women in all fields when there is equal work. Because just like the 5 sisters, the story doesn't end here. From February 2020 into February 2021 and on, metaphorically into the next chapter over, we have, of course, the pandemic. And according to the Department of Labor, by February 2021, women's labor force participation rate was 55.8%, which happens to be the same rate as April 1987. Now, we're talking about, it's minuscule percentage points that it's moving up, but we lost 30 years of those minuscule percentages moving forward. So we are now 30 years behind where we were ahead of the pandemic. And it's only those small percentage points, but it took 30 years. Meanwhile, society has become more progressive than ever before with different sex partnerships. Leading up to the pandemic, male partners were sharing in many more of the home life responsibilities that were historically put solely on women's shoulders. During the pandemic, we reverted, not so differently from the Israelites. And of course, I don't mean absolutely everyone, but enough couples that there are all kinds of surveys and studies and reports that came out telling us that a lot of people felt this way. And during the pandemic, by and large, it wasn't men leaving their jobs to offer childcare, it was women. And suddenly, childcare was desperately needed, and we returned to old cultural norms of women providing childcare while men worked. Suddenly, when the Israelites were worried about tribal land transfer, they went back to the status quo of men being the true landowners. And there are lots of statistics, data points out there to tell us that though our culture has progressed in many ways toward providing equal opportunities for women, we must recognize that there is a long way to go and that we have a responsibility to be a force for change. Zelophehad's daughters may have seen victory and then defeat, but their story is there for a reason. It should spark hope and provide courage for continued change. Ask for that raise, apply for that job, run for that political position. And if you're on the hiring side, take gender bias training. Keep your eyes and ears open to the way others treat and speak about women in your office. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not note that all of my points tonight are amplified to even greater inequality when we specify women of color versus women in general. This is about equal pay for equal work. This is about better access to female health services. This is about an end to the pink tax, which is, where women's hygiene products that are exactly the same as men's but come in pink cost more. That's the pink tax. And friends, we have the Machla, Noah, Hogla, Milka, and Tirtzas of the world, and they're fighting for equality, but we need more. And just as important, if not more so, are those advocates who will go beyond what Moses did. Yes, Moses pronounced the approval of the women to inherit land, but when another group of men later complained, the status quo reset. With everything that happened economically and culturally in the country this year, as much as there have been areas of growth and change, the role of women in the workforce has reverted back a little bit to the old status quo, not so differently from the way of our Torah story. And even in the Reform movement, dubbed the beacon of equality, I'm up here, our movement has struggled with women's issues throughout its existence. We stand on platforms that are worth aspiring to, and they were put into writing quite ahead of mainstream culture. Isaac Mayer Wise, for example, who came to America, sought in American Judaism, He was the first to eliminate separated seating so that we could sit like this tonight, and to invite women to sing, especially in the choir, and to count in the minyan, in the 10 people, the minimum of 10 people that we need to pray. All of this occurring in the mid to late 1800s. But once again, all of this progress should be affirmed, and there was still work to do as Isaac Mayer Weiss stopped short of pushing for the ordination of women, even though they studied at the Hebrew Union College. But ordination for women wouldn't occur until 1972. So, like I said, our reform movement's claims to equality did not always hold up in reality, even when there was agreement among the majority. Back in 1922, there was a proposal to allow the ordination of women. 1922. Majority votes came from the HUC faculty and from the Central Conference of American Rabbis, which was probably called something else back then. But the ultimate decision makers, the HUC Board of Governors, ended up rejecting the proposal. And so in 1922, it didn't happen, and it would take until 1972. Women in the reform movement were given equality, but not completely. Just as Machla, Noah, Hogla, Milka, and Tirza were given equality in inheritance, but not totally. Today, Reform Judaism continues to strive to be a beacon of equality. We still have work to do, but our progress should be recognized. Women are allowed in every single role of our Reform Jewish world, though there are, of course, still positions which have never been filled by a woman. Like I said earlier, women count in a minyan, we can sing, we can read from the Torah, we can be a temple president, we can become rabbis and cantors and educators. We can wear a talit, and the list goes on and on. And by the way, Jewish ladies of Temple Emanu-El, we invite you to wear your talit along with your spouse when your child becomes bar or bat mitzvah. The story of Machla, Noah, Hogla, Milka, and Tirza, it may not be the exact feminist story that we'd like to see in Torah, but back then, it was a start. And it's our job to continue the work to fulfill our movement's vision of true equality, not only in Jewish spaces, but in all aspects of our life. And not only for gender, to which there is a full spectrum, but for race, sexual orientation, age, disability, and again, the list goes on. From land inheritance of the Torah to paychecks today, from property rights of the Torah to civil rights and cultural norms today. Let us live out our Jewish values and continue to be guardians of change. We are stronger together, so let us lift one another up to build a better world. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Our service continues on page 166. We'll pray a few of the prayers together before we enter our silent prayer. As our central standing prayer, I will invite you to please rise.
Adonai. Sfatai tita. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai. Sfatai tita. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai. Sfatai tita. Ananananana Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav V'Hoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Sohomech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim emunato lishenei afar micha mocha ba'al gevurot umido melech melech meimid umechayeh umatmiach Yeshua b'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalucha salah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Take a few moments for silent prayer and meditation. When you've completed your prayers, I invite you to please be seated. Page 680.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
am I speaking on behalf, or would one of you like to come up? I'll invite forward Edie Disner, co-president of the Board of Trustees, to share with us a few announcements. Took the long route.
Thank you.
You're
welcome,
welcome.
everybody. I thought it was really nice. Thank you, Dr. Gummer, for the God Bless America. We have a brand new person in our midst who's going to be coming to America literally just from Israel to live here. So welcome. Really exciting for us to have that. Lots of things going on in our community here at Temple Emanu-El, things that you will see tonight. You can volunteer to get involved in lots of different ways. If you're not interested in standing up here as co-president, that's okay. You can volunteer to do things behind the scenes. There are a couple ways that we really need assistance. One, if you're technical, that would be fantastic. Stephen Blick, our executive director, would love to have some backup folks helping with broadcasting to everybody out there watching us. We need some ushers since we're starting to come back into the building. Bakers and those that don't bake that want to deliver fruit or help set up for the onegs. So lots of ways to get involved, and many, many more coming your way. There's also softball that's happening.
Just out this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. So
Oh, it is still?
I think
it's a bye weekend because of the 4th of July.
Yeah, that's right. So you can look for the schedule for next week. And that's it. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you all for being here.
Shalom. Thank you. Oh, my Lunch and Learn, Wednesday, 12 o'clock, in person and online. I'm unpacking, if you heard in the news a month or two ago, the rabbinical student letter on Israel during the conflict/war, and the response that came out of it. Very interesting stuff, so I invite you to join me for that. And now, some of its words. It is time to share the wonderful things that are going on in our lives. It can be small, it can be big, but I would love to, can we do the microphone now? Are we comfortable with that? To run the mic? Is that cool? Okay. If you have something great going on in your life, please, flag down Robert, say your name and the thing that's awesome going on. Bravo model. There you go.
It's on. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I just am thankful for my parents who are here from Michigan, who I haven't seen for 18 months because they were afraid to get off the couch. But here they are, so it's nice to have them here.
Awesome. So glad you guys are here.
Rich and Gloria Lappin, and today our grandson turned 9, and he's only an inch shorter than me. We measured. Yeah.
We all knew it wouldn't take that long.
Hi, I'm Lois Berman, and I'm very happy that our son Mark is here from Virginia for the first time since last July.
We could hear. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Lipton, and we just enjoyed celebrating this week my mom's 80th birthday.
Fabulous.
And I'm Michael Lipton, and I'd like to congratulate my son Joshua on graduating William and Mary last month.
Wait, you're already graduated?
Yeah, no kidding.
What? Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because I met you right before you were leaving.
I'm Harriet Zoller. We're here with my husband Norman, and this week we celebrated our 56th wedding anniversary.
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
George Richfeld. We celebrated our 49th anniversary last week. And my cousin Ori from Israel, who's making Aliyah in the States.
Right.
With his wife Morgan.
A truly going up.
And going to join our temple.
Awesome. Last one.
I'm Missy Schunig, and I have yet to see my daughter and her fiance since 2019, but we are going at the end of the month. So
Awesome. Thank you, Missy. Rabbi Rachel, and poor little Zohara caught her first cold after 13 months, and she is on her way to recovery. We're on the other side, so she's getting there. We're good. Anything? Yeah, all right. So friends, if you would like the words to Shehechianu, thanking God for reaching this wonderful moment in time, at page 648.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh
We celebrate our joys together, and we're here for the oys too, and the times when we need a little strength, a little help, thought, a prayer, something that gives strength either to us or a person who is in need of healing of relationship, mind, body, or spirit. We're especially sending prayers out to the rabbi from Boston who was attacked outside of the shul there, his name being Rabbi Shlomo Noginsky. And in our congregation, we're thinking of Brett Samsky, Meir Ben Rachmiel Vedina, Arlene Marcus, Andy Rush, Yeda Bat Yosef Lev Miriam, Steve Backman, Tara Cutler, William Friedman, Lisa Solonik, Hannah Hazen, Ken Schiffer, Howard Ackerman, Ludmila Koven, Ina Slutsky, Howard Silverstein, Marcia Stevenson, Brian Fiddleman, Earl Kessler, Mike Alpass, Eliezer Moshe, Jan Misner, Marilyn Cohen, and Helen Ray. If there is somebody that you are thinking of this Shabbat, I invite you to please share their name aloud as my eyes meet yours.
Bob Lakeman.
Thank you. Thank you. Words for Misha Berach can be found in the middle of page 371. I invite you to please rise, check with the person next to you, but if they're cool, I invite you to wrap an arm around one another.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mikol HaBracha Le'avotenu, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
I invite us to remain standing for Kiddush, page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lamikra kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen.
And once again, we will remain standing for Aleinu L'Shabeach, page 586. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lateit gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'galyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, v'goraleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umotim, Lifnei melech malchei hamachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Please be seated. We've reached the point in our service where we recall loved ones whose memories are a blessing to us, whose memories we carry on in the actions that we take and the good deeds that we do in this world. In a period of Shiv'ah, we think of the family of Julius Simon. For Shloshim, Dr. Murray Artkin, Marcia Hecht, Jill Chaliff. And on this Shabbat, observing Yartzites for Alvin Barron, Donald Berman, Marilyn Stein-Cohen, Pauline Davis, Cyril Dembo, Doris Edelman, Naomi Feinberg, Frank Feldman, Dora Fisher, Dora Ginsburg Fisher, Joseph Foreman, Gilbert Fruchter, Alan J. Gilman, Sophie Goldman, Morris Goldstein, Estelle Grazier, Millie Green, Norman Grosser, Monroe L. Jacobson, Murray Clanfer, Albert Kutner, Heidi Kuhlbersch, Fred Lima, Seymour Levy, Ray Rosenstein Lewin, Arkady Marcus, Bernard Marmer, Louis Mazer, Lorraine Myers, Mildred Moskov, Ann Plocker, Sidney Rosenthal, Joseph Sharon Lillian Waxman, Ruth Weinstein, Evelyn Wertheim, Harriet Zellman, and Israel Zimmerman. If there is a name I've mispronounced or inadvertently left off, I invite you to please share that name at this time. Thank you. Thank you. If you are in a period of Shiv'ah, the first week mourning the loss of a loved one, I invite you to rise. If you are in a period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of losing a loved one, I invite you to please rise. If on this Shabbat you are commemorating a yahrzeit, a death anniversary of a loved one, I invite you to please rise. And if it is your custom to rise for Mourner's Kaddish, as it is here at Temple Emanu-El, we invite you to do so now. The words can be found on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'amei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
We close out this 4th of July Shabbat weekend with a little America the Beautiful, found on page 681.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet, whose stern impassioned stress a thoroughfare of freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thine every flaw, confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in love. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom.